We start. Welcome to another episode of recasting the Austrian Legacy League. Today we are gonna recast day 3 or the third event of the Austrian Legacy League. I'm your host Peter Plank, and today we're gonna look at 4 different matches of Paper Legacy Magic. And thank you, Andy, in the chat. I forgot to turn on the mic this time. So we will look up where the first match starts. And in the first round we have Marcel Meyerhofer on Merfolk and Andreas Klinger on Delver. About Merfolk, we have here the list. We'll put it out. This is the list that Marcel played. He's playing for Lord of Atlantis, for Mars of Pearl Trident, for Curse Catcher, for Silver Gill Adept, for Phantasmal Image, 3 Curse Catcher, 3 True Name Nemesis, 4 Etherby, 2 Chalices, 4 Forces, 4 Dazes, 4 Cavern of Souls, 4 Mutavaults, 12 Islands. In the sideboard he has 4 Spreading Seas, 2 Echoing Truths, 1 Dispel, 1 Bucket's Recall, 1 Vapor Snag, 1 Brazen Borer, 1 Flusterstorm, 2 Mana Leak, 1 Kira, the Great Glass Banner, and 1 Force of Negation. I haven't looked up recent Merfolk lists, but I think this one should be pretty basic, should be pretty standard, and yeah, I think we will jump into the games. Unfortunately, I have no list from Alexander, but I can try something out, so we maybe can get his list too, because maybe he put his one on the website of the Austrian League, austrian-legacy.com, if anyone is interested. Klinger, yeah, this is his list, so he's should be a pretty basic list. 9 blue fetchers for Wasteland, 3 walks, 3 drops. For Delver, for Dreaded Arcanists, 2 Tarmogoyf, for Brazen Borer, 1 Hooting Manbells, 1 Spell Pierce to Preordain, 4 Brainstorm, for Days, 2 Force of Negation, 4 Force of Will, 4 Lightning Bolt, 1 Chain Lightning, 1 Blazing Volley, 2 Clothis, Grafdigger's Cage Braid, 1 Back to Nature. I haven't seen that one in a while, but I think this would make sense against what would that make sense? Maybe there was a guy who played how's he called, Enchantress in the shop the last week or something like that, so he maybe put it in specifically for this matchup, but I think I haven't seen that one for any premier players or premier legacy events. 2 Surgical, 1 Red Elemental Plus, 2 Private Plus, a Collector, a Winter Orb, and 2 Submerge. So I think outside of the Back to Nature, I think it should be pretty basic. Blazing Ball is a good answer for the Elves players, because I think we have regular around 3 players who are playing Elves in the shop. So it would make sense to play this specifically for our meta in the shop. A few side facts for the event we had on Friday. We were 25 players. I was playing for once myself on Friday, so it was a big event for us, but I think we had regularly now, I think about 25 players for the last 3 rounds, so things are looking good for our community, and as long we are allowed to keep it doing, because maybe COVID restrictions are coming in, we will definitely go on with our league, but maybe we have to change up in the future and try something different, because of COVID it is maybe not allowed to do it. So we will start now with game 1 of match 1 of today's event. I think we will skip the shuffling It looks like a mulligan on the side of Marcel, because Alexander already has 7. And yeah, we will definitely see what this is going to shape up. So we have a tropical island and at least a delva on the side of Alexander. I think this looks like a keep. I think you put away. Okay, we put away the second lord, third lord. So Marcel has lord, land, days, Trunim Nemesis in his hand, which looks good, but he has the hope that Alexander has not enough removal for his creatures, but Delva is good in finding that. So yeah, we will definitely see how it's starting up. Okay, Tropical Island Delva, a good start on the side of Alexander, but with Brainstorm it's guaranteed that his Delva is gonna flip, and Marcel drew a Silver Gale Tapped. Okay, we are gonna see. Ooh, okay. I mean, I think I wouldn't have dazed this because you're now really far behind on the side of Merfolk. But if Alexander is not able to find any new card draw spell or manipulation spell, it could be quite bad for him. I think he has to slam his Arcanist at the spot now. Yeah, sure. Okay, then for 1. And Moinchino, thanks for looking into the stream. I think this week you were not playing. Okay. In the event. So you can check out the matches now. Okay. Today's was okay now, but I think we just see a swing out from Alexander. Unfortunately, we have no life totals. I will put the life totals up for the next matches. Yeah, your brother had wedding. I've seen on your Twitter profile that you were streaming it to YouTube for his friends. So quite cool to see those adjustments. I think this spot you would maybe just, I mean, if this is a Tarmogoyf, you slam it, sure. I mean, the Tarmogoyf isn't big now, but at least you can do something against it. Okay, the second days could be huge. Because if he goes Trunim Nemesis, it could be quite interesting. But I think it is what you just cast the Lord. And yeah, this is definitely the right play. I think you fetch Bolt the Lord in spot, which will be dazed. From Marcel. But yeah. But for next turn, if the Arcanist swings out, we'll get the clear on the Lord. But it's a good tempo advantage on the side of Marcel. And it really depends if he can develop the board in the next few turns, because Alexander has unfortunately no new cantrips in his hand. So he really needs anything that comes. I mean, the Tarmogoyf is now a 2/3, and another Daze is definitely not the card you want to see in spot, because I think you just attack with everything, kill the Lord, and then you have double Daze up for the next turn. But I mean, the next 2 turns doesn't look too good on the side of Alexander, especially if Marcel is playing around double Daze, or at least single Daze. So the Tarmogoyf is now a 3/4. Yeah, because the creature enters the graveyard, so you get in for 7. I think, if I see it correctly, he should be at 9, but I'm definitely not sure. So we will have to wait to be sure. And now with a Cavern of Souls, I think Marcel should just slim the True Nemesis, and then it will be hard to play something. I mean, you will get in with the Tarmogoyf, I mean, with at least one threat, because the Tarmogoyf is now at least bigger than the True Nemesis. And for the next turn, if Alexander is a little bit lucky, okay, he can play. Okay, no, unfortunately not this turn. For next turn he can then play his Hooting Mandrills. But I kinda disagree now in this spot that he wastelands the Mutavault, because one thing that is problematic for him is Cavern of Souls giving each Merfolk spell uncounterable, and with 2 Dazes and a Force of Will in his hand, I think you should try to utilize those. But now he just plays islands, taps the Cavern of Souls and an island, and he's gonna play his Lord, and that could be kind of difficult. I definitely agree now in this spot to today's the Curse how is it called? Curse Catcher. Because you want to get rid of the possibility of Merfolk to play the Lord this turn, because the Lord can win you the game in the spot. But yeah, now it's just the Lord, and now the now the True Nemesis is a 4/3, a 4/2, and you have a lot more problems in dealing with it, because now you can't even attack with the Tarmogoyf now, because the Tarmogoyf gets killed. Now I think Alexander is at 7, so it just doesn't look good for him. Okay. Now it's the question if Oku helps him. If this isn't a leaf attack, okay. So Marcel was at 7, and for this game we now need a text editor, and with that we will have our life totals. Okay, let's try to give you something new. Okay, notepad. Yep. Okay, we will move that here. And now I can use the notepad to give you guys a little bit of an overview with the life totals. Let's see how our two guys board. Okay, I think Alexander gets rid of two daces, 2 forces. I think the decision to board in Clovis should be correct, because Clovis is just a big beater. But I do not know what he wants with the submerges. Okay, we see the spreading seas. Now on the side of Marcel. So he wants to board in the spreading seas. Force of negation. Third cut that I do not know. Let's see what he wants to bring in, because I think this is a fluster. I think you want to get rid of Force of Wills on the side of Marcel. I kind of... Okay, this is a faster storm. I mean, I do not know if you want to play Force of Wills in this matchup, because for me it's just way too fair. It's something I always maybe overplay, but I really like boarding out Force of Wills in fair matchups. I mean, sometimes now I let it be inside, because sometimes it's good to be able to, how can I say, to hardcast the Force of Will in a fair matchup, because with Uro it's now a lot more likely, I would say, to hardcast the Force of Will, because you have so much card draw. You are easy to accelerate your mana that you are able to hardcast the Force of Will on turn 4 or something like that, which was previously unthinkable. But yeah, there's something that could be more common in the near future. For anyone listening to the stream, do we have any overcompensated noise on the mic, or is the voice just fine, or do we have any interferences? Hello Dominic, nice to see you in the chat. We currently have our two opponents, Marcel and Alexander is up 1 game. So the mic is okay. That's good. That's good. For anyone who previously was on the stream, or for anyone new, I currently upgraded the voice for the stream with a Rode NT1A. It's one of the most sold Rode studio mics, so it's really good, and this one will be used for various different usages, such as for tomorrow's episode of the In Response, a Legacy podcast. We will be recording episode 9 tomorrow, and now we can focus again on some paper Legacy. We have Land, Wasteland, Days, Ponder, and a few other cards on the side of Manuel. We have Lands, Etherval, Lords on the side of Marcel, which should be a clear key. land Weil is just a way too strong start on the side of Marcel. I mean, not a way too strong, but one of the best starts you can have on any for Weil deck. This definitely holds true for Esper Weil, Merfolk, Goblins, and Death Texas. Because it turns off Dazes and a lot of other cards. But I think Marcel would play out a Lord next turn. Because I think he needs the tempo in this place. And with a lot of creatures in his hand, I think he should be able to play it out, even if it will be dazed. Because you at least get rid of some tempo on the side of Alexander. Or he maybe plays the Spreadings. Could be too. Because that's something that does a lot against Rakdelva especially. Because it's just that I have to count the life totals now, because it's just really good, because the blue is only used for cantrips, but you need the green and the red at least for creatures and your threats, because your threats are most likely to be Okos, Mandrills, Goyfs, or Dreaded Archists. But yeah, it's definitely something you can do. Okay, now he wanted to trade his Delver against the Curse Catcher, which would have been fine. Now here's the question: if he plays out the Lord. Yeah, and he does. I kind of disagree on the decision here of Marcel. I mean, it's just a tiny thing, but I would have played the Lord before the for a while. Yeah, the life totals are 20 on the side of Marcel. Okay, 19 on the side of Marcel and 19 on the side of Alex. Sorry for that. Now we have 16 on the side of Marcel. Okay. Land Arcanist. And he keeps the Arcanist on top, I think. Okay. Now passes turn. So end of turn we get in one Lord. And if there is something I would have done now in spot of Marcel, which would have been, yeah, and that's the problem now inside of Marcel. I will just put it out as a little bit of educational content. I think in this spot, as a Merfolk player, you would you have the trigger on the stack on the Weil that you have. I can put it up from 2 to 3, but in response to this trigger, you would listen to the In Response, the Legacy podcast. No, you would activate the Weil to put in one master, because you want to have the possibility of playing 2 Lords in this turn. Because if you have 3 Lords out, only a threat are both proof now. And this one is really, really huge against Rakdelva. Because the 4 in the toughness are really, really good. And now with him ticking up the Weil to 3, he's now not able to play 2 Lords this turn. So he has to fade 1 turn of bolts. And every Lord would have been base proof, because the Lords come down via Weil and via 2 islands. And now he has to fade a bolt for a turn. Because if Alex is able to get bolt, he's in a really good spot now. So we will see how the match goes on. But this one is a small but could be really big mistake on the side of Marcel. This would have been the if Marcel loses this game now, which in this spot is, I would say, likely. But I mean, Alex has no removal balance in his hand, so could be nuts. But I think this spot you activate the vial just because the possibility of getting enough lords is way too good. So, and yeah, and with Alexander just playing the Arcanist, you're now desperate to find the bolt. So we are down to 13 on the side of Marcel. We get in a Predane. Yeah. The question is now if you even want to keep the Ochre. I mean, Marcel only has one land, one card in hand. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But this was definitely a mistake on the side of Marcel. Yeah. But with him drawing another lord for the next turn, this game should be pretty much locked. Now you just attack with 2 lords. Before damage, you vial in the 4th. And you now have 8 damage. You put Alex down to 8. And now you have 16 power on board. So is it 16? No, he's down to 6 because each lord is now a 5/5. And you now only can get rid of 1 lord because you need at least 2 bolts now in this scenario. I think with 2 bolts you can get rid of 3 because you need 2 bolts for 2 different you need at least 4 bolts this turn now to get rid of them. And Alex just drew a bolt for this turn, so he will bolt one lord. He can flashback a bolt from his graveyard with Dreaded Arcanist. He now gets rid of 1 of the lords, so the remaining lords are still 4/4. So maybe Marcel makes the wrong decision in blocking 1 lord. So Alex now has the possibility of blocking. No, he has not. He may has the possibility, but he shouldn't be able to block the creatures on the side of Marcel because they all have island walk. So in this spot, the game is really big in the hand of Marcel now. Because I think there's not a single scenario where Alex can win the game. The only thing that could happen is a bad block on the side of Marcel and 3 caster bolts. So he can get rid of all Master of Bolt Trident, so that the lords on the side of Marcel loses Island Walk. And with that, it could be possible. Because I think the Lord of Atlantis only gives +1/+1 for every Merfolk. But yeah, we have it. Mistake was not punished on the side of Marcel. I mean, you always can say that he was lucky, he drew that many lords and yada yada, but that's just the game. It's just like Death Texas. Sometimes they just flood out and sometimes they draw a few a few good creatures in a row, and they win the game. So we now game-wise 1 and 1 and 20-20 again. So we have no changes to the decks for those two players. Delver is now in a much better position on the play because he's now able to daze the Ether Vials, which is very, very huge in this matchup. But yeah, we will definitely see how game 3 will happen. I'm currently not sure how this matchup played out historically, but with the earliest iterations of Rakdelva, I would say that, I mean, with the earliest versions of Rakdelva, I mean the Canadian Threshold days, where it was pretty heavily favored, I think, on the side of Merfolk, because yeah, the problem of the Nimble Mongoose was that it was way too easily stonewalled by the creatures of Merfolk. So I think historically Merfolk was better against Rak, and I think now it's pretty much a 50-50 matchup, I would say. We will have to see now if Marcel is keeping the tent. Okay. So he trusts in the heart of the cards, and we will see a ponder for the first turn on the side of Alexander. So it's will be definitely interesting to see how this game now plays out, because I think the card you want to see now is the Force of Will because of the Ether Vial. Because you need it. I think you want to draw the Ether Vial in this spot. The Force of Will in this spot. Because you want to have an out to the Ether Vial, I would say. Okay. Okay. This doesn't look good on the side of Marcel, I have to admit. If it draws no land for next turn, the game is pretty much over. Okay. No place on the side of Alexander is definitely something I would have thought. Because I thought that Alexander had a Dreaded Arcanist in his hand. Okay. There was a small miscommunication because as the active player, you have to announce that you want to go from end of turn to the discard phase. This is definitely something you will learn if you play Manila Stretch, because there's a lot of players who want to do something in the end of turn, and if you're new to the deck, you just say end of turn, I do nothing, and then just put the card to the bin. But you aren't allowed to do that. Okay, now we have a Force of Will drawn. And I think this was a... So he drew a Force of Will for this turn. Why did Alexander not play the Dreaded Arcanist for last turn? I mean, now we have the land on the side of Marcel. He plays just the Chalice. He gets bolted to the face, down to 14. And now Alexander's just dead. Okay, small miscommunication, but the card got dazed. Yeah. Marcel goes down to 16 and is in a command lead now, and should be win this game. The only thing that he has to keep drawing is, I would say, one land or something like that. And I think in this spot you just pass the turn. You play the Merfolk Trickster. Yeah. The Trickster, you block the Arcanist. And now we see Obliteration. Yeah. Is this a testable image? Yeah. But I think you just play the Lord in this spot. Because every creature is now safe. The only thing that could help Alexander is now drawing, I think, with one of a raid he should have boarded in. But we will likely see that at the defeat screen. Yeah, we now have a third land, which means we will see a true nemesis, I would say. Or another Lord. Yeah, sure. So the Lord will get forced. Pitching a Ponder. So he's going down to 17. Okay, now unfortunately I have to call out again a play of our community. Marcel just played on his turn Force of Negation, and he would be able to play that. He should have used the Force of Will from his hand. Now he's getting in for 7, so down to 10, and should be swinging in lethal for next turn. Or even down to 9, because Force of Will twice, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that was the braid. Okay. So the one card out was the one of braid on the side of Alexander. So we have as a winner for the match 1 of the round 1 of the third event of the Austrian Legacy League, Marcel Mayhofer on Merfolk against Alexander Klinger on Rack Delaware. So we can, okay, we maybe are able to see the sideboard, but I think there was boarded in the 2 Pyro, 1 Red Elemental Blast, 1 Abrade for 2 days, and 2 Force of Will. On the side of Marcel, we saw boarded in, I think, the Force of Negation, the 3 Spreading Seas, and we will have to see what cards were boarded out. We will just look it up. Okay, he only boarded in 2 Spreading Seas and 1 Force of Negation for 1 days, 1 Phantasmal Image, 1 Silver Gilded Depth, which is basically, like, I would say it's the noob boarding, because sometimes if you do not know what cards you have to board out, you just board out single copies of cards you have in as 4 of, because you do not know what cards you should cut. Now we have Paul Etzelsdorfer on blue-red, Delver against Andreas Leopold's Ida and Bant. We can look up the deck list of Andreas Leopold's Ida, because he was playing his list here on the last big tournaments we had in our community. So this is the deck list. We have 1 Bayou, 1 Platzenmeier, 1 Island, 3 Misty Rainforest, 4 Polluted Delta, 1 Swamp, 1 Drop, 2 UC, 1 Walk. We have 1 Ad Nauseam for Brainstorm, for Cabal Ritual, for Dark Ritual, 3 Duressas, 1 Grape Shot for Infernal Tutor, 1 Past in Flames for Ponder, 3 Preordained, 1 Tendrils of Any, 3 Thoughtseize, and 2 Whale of Summer. The Grape Shot was moved, if I remember correctly, from MD to beat the game 1, how's it called? Whale of Summer. The 10 out spells are for Light Side Diamond, for Lotus Petal, 2 Wishclaw Talisman. In the sideboard, you have the Disruption package of 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Echoing Truth, 1 Empty Devorance to just do not kill on the sack, but kill with the goblins, 1 Fatal Push to Flusterstorm, 1 Sucker, 2 Surgical, 1 Veil of Summer, and 1 Xenith Swarm, just to make sure that your opponent is still playing dead removal against your Storm deck. Unfortunately, I do not have the deck list from Paul, but yeah, we'll just take a step and then we resume with match 2 of the 3rd event of the Austrian Legacy League. For this matchup, I think the life totals won't matter that much, or at least if Andy is able to win the game. And one thing I have to say is that Andy, better known as Prophet M66 in the chat, has, I think, the most gorgeous Ant deck on the planet, I would say. We'll see the cards now lining up, hopefully together, and yeah, look out. I think the only thing he can improve is playing alpha or beta duels, I would say. I think there isn't any other thing that's possible for him to improve his deck. So Paul gets in for 3 on his second turn, so Andy's down to 17. Down to 16 from the fetch land. I think he will go for for Bayou now. Okay, for an island now, so he doesn't have a kill this turn, but maybe for next turn will be a Brainstorm. Yeah, because he's playing the, are these the Mercadian Masked promos? I think so. Should be Mercadian Masked promo foiled. So, and the other cards, the lands are all expeditions. The other cards all premium foils or really good. Black bordered cards, all black bordered duels, so it's a really nice look, I have to admit. So yeah. Nothing on the side of Paul. I think this matchup you have to look for something that advances your game plan, because you have to look up for new forces. You have to look for new how do you say it? You have to look out for new things to advance your game plan. You have to look up for bolts. You have to look out for you have to look out for bolts, for threats. You have to do something like that. And I think now we see a Brainstorm. Let's see how he does with the counter magic, because the Brainstorm is not good. The question is now, if you Brainstorm again, if you daze it, but dazing wouldn't make any sense if you force it, because you have, okay, yeah, so he should be dead, or at least if Andy has a possibility to kill him this turn, because I think you just take the daze if you're able to kill him, because he has the dark rituals, he has the petals, and I think he has the infernal tutor, so he should be able to win this turn with an passing flinch line. I think should be able to go petal, dark ritual. Okay, it's down to 11 because this one resolved, or he is maybe searching for brainstorm, but I think he has to. Okay, he knows the top card, so he wants to shuffle again, so he's down to 10. So Nosung is now not possible. I have to shortly pause the stream. I am back in 2 minutes. Sorry for this. I said I didn't close all the doors in my car, so I had to get out. So we are now with and I quickly pause it and go back to the decision of the brainstorm, because here in this spot Paul has wasteland, force of will, force of negation, brazen borer, and ponder in his hand. And in this spot, in this turn, you have to suspect that Andreas will be able to go off now. And in this spot, it's just correct to put both wastelands on top of your library, because the wastelands do nothing this turn and they do nothing next turn. And the force of will plus and a blue card could be able for you to survive until next turn. And until next turn, you just crack your own wasteland, or your wasteland sacrifice island, or whatever you want to come back into the game. But the most important thing for this turn now is to stop Andy from winning the game. You are not allowed to do anything different. You just want to stop the game. But as we saw already, he's putting back Force of Will and Brazen Borer. And now he Force of Negations the Brainstorm. So we are now at Storm 6. And Andy will be able to do anything. Okay. Everything correct.
Vice is on 5. Okay, only 1. Okay, his opponent is down to 80 because he used black mana. And Vice Storm on 4. Because this Brainstorm was cast last turn, I remember now. So it's 4 Cs and the Brainstorm, and this was a double Brainstorm now on the side of Paul, I think. There was one Brainstorm before the before the 4 Cs, the second Brainstorm before the Brainstorm, and then the 4th now. So we should be at Storm 5, but now we are at Storm 4. So we go down to 5, which would have been 6. So we now see the UC getting wasted, which produces 1 black. We have Storm 5. Volume up? Yeah, for sure. It should be now a little bit louder. Is it better now? Should be. Okay. So we lost a little bit of track of the storm count now, but we have a LED resolved. We have a Dark Ritual resolved. We have an Infernal Tutor resolved, and we have still 1 black mana floating. He will crack this one for black now. Which is interesting now. But I think he is at Storm 8 or 9 now, so he will just get out his tendrils and should be able to win the game in this spot. Because I think you are unable to do anything different. Yeah, just get the tendrils. And with Storm 8 or 9, it doesn't matter because his opponent was at 18. Doesn't matter. Sound is now better. Daniel. So we have the first game now one on the side of Andy, and we'll see how our 2 players are on a sideboard. But I think blue-red just doesn't play enough against you, because the things you are already doing is countering spells, but I think you can board down a little bit on the side of bolt effects, and you board in the blasts. I think you board in the Graftis Cage now. Okay, he's playing. Okay, against A&T you want to play the Graftis Cages. Against TES, you don't want to play the Graftis Cages. Because one thing, even though game 1 didn't show that, but Paul really helped Andy in getting up the storm count, is that A&T is not able to get up to a high enough storm if you are not allowed to play through ad nauseam. Because one thing that blue-red does really good is putting your opponent to less the life total really fast. And I think I've just seen that Paul is set. What is boarding out? Okay, I think True Name Nemesis are way too slow. The Arcanists are okay. I think the True Name Nemesis are the cards he wants to board out in this match. And the Brazen Boar are not that great, I have to admit. Yeah, so because was this another Arcanist? Okay, Brazen Boar, another Arcanist. I mean, the Arcanists are not great, but they really help you in putting the life total lower on the side of Andy. So we now gets to see a look through the deck. All foil, most of them signed. The deck is really gorgeous. the dark rituals are, I think, first foiled version, signed and altered by the artist. The foil, it's really gorgeous. A little bit less card draw, a little bit more answers on the side of Andy, if I remember correctly. Okay, another Priodine put down. So the red elemental blasts are a little bit worse on the side of Paul. But I think Andy boarded in his second Past in Flames, if I saw it correctly. Which, okay, but he boarded in the empty warrants, which is now a little bit better. Because you need the plan C now in this matchup, especially with a lot of surgicals now on the side of Paul, which indefinitely makes the Past in Flames plan worse, because TS is the Ad Nauseam deck, and the Ad Nauseam Tendrils is the Past in Flames deck, which are the main engines now. Okay. The question is now if you keep his hand. Against A and T, yes. Against TES, no. And I think, even though his hand wasn't that great, it wasn't great. If we see this hand, maybe I can get a good look on it. His hand has, unfortunately, okay, I forgot that he is not able to put up a daze. And he's, yeah. No, with him not being able to daze something, it's, I think, not correct. You can go down to 6 to get a more reliable 6, yeah. So the decision is correct now on the side of Paul. Now we see the hand of Andy, and for him it looks like a good one. So we can presume with game number 2 now. Unfortunately, the games counters on the left, on the right side, on the players in the stream are not correct. So I have the correct counter now on the text editor in the middle. But we have the turn 1 Delver start now, and his 7 look real, and the 6 look really good. Okay, now we get the flip on the side of Paul. He's able to slam a bolt now into the face end of turn. He's able to red elemental blast the brainstorm on the side of Andy if he really wants to. The question, yeah, I think you would board, you would, I mean, it doesn't matter when you boarded your opponent, but at some instance you have to bolt your opponent. So I think this was the first attack of the Delver. Okay, it gets removed after 1 fetch, so Andy's down to 16. Attempts to brainstorm, which should get red elemental blasted. Okay. Different decision on the side of Paul. So we have to see now. The question now, if Andy is now able to. Okay. Goes down to 15 with a fetch. It should be possible to win in a few turns now. But I think you want the undestroyable land now. Because your opponent is running wastelands. Even though he would have played it to get rid of the tropical island now. But I think you have to counter some of those cards. Now you want to get rid of one land. Okay, gets rid of both. Please tell me that you countered the ponder. Because if you do not counter the ponders, it doesn't make sense to board in the red elemental blast. Because your red elemental blasts are specifically in this matchup to counter the card draw spells, because you want to hinder your opponent, the combo player, to get the perfect card. Because it's one thing that he has the turn 1 combo, which occasionally happens, and because of that you try to have force of will or something like that in your opening hand. But the red elemental blasts are boarded in to counter the ponder, the brainstorm, the preordains, because you want to get rid of something from your opponent. Because you have to hinder your opponent in getting to those cards. Okay, because I mean, you're playing around Veil of Summer, but it doesn't make sense to not counter the early cards. With that, your red elemental blast are not dead in your hand. Your opponent casts a blue card for this turn. So Paul is going down to 19 for now. And I think, okay, and doesn't go for anything this turn. Paul is gonna fetch. And yeah, he has Bolt, Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Red Elemental Blast in his hand. And the fourth card is a Surgical. So I think in a spot you're gonna pass. You try to counter maybe this turn a card draw spell or anything, and yeah, we will have to see what Paul and Andy are doing. Okay, cracks the fiery eyelet his turn to. Okay, so next turn Paul has threat now, but let's see if he's able to live until next turn. Going down to 16, and he is surgically. Surgical brainstorm. Just looking through the cards, I think he forgot that he had one brainstorm. So yeah, it seems like Andy is winning. Andy's winning the game next turn. I mean, he's still missing a few things, but he's getting up to 4, 6, 9, 12 mana, and then has Infernal Tooth, Past in Flames. So it should be possible for Andy to win next turn. So let's see what Andy's doing now. Okay, going down to 40s is the first way on the road. But yeah, We will definitely see how this goes. The question now is if Andy is thinking that Paul has something in his hand or if he does not. Because the hand of Paul is Pyromancer, Red Elemental Blast, Red Elemental Blast, Bolt. Which isn't that great against fighting A and D in his turn. So he's getting up to 1 storm. With 3 black floating. Okay, another dark ritual. 2 and 6, 5 black floating. Getting up 4 storm with 2 LEDs now on the field. Now you're gonna cast the tutor. Crack the LED now for 3 red. I would. Okay, another 3 black. Up to 6. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. Because now, this spot you are playing around. How's it called? You are playing around a fossil flow. Because you have to rest. The one card you are not playing around is how's it called? Is Surgical. But in this spot you have to assume that your opponent does not have the next one. So he's just going to cast the Past in Flames, going up to 7 storm. And in this spot it's pretty much clear that Andy has won the game, going up to 9 storm, having 5 black floating. Going up to 10 storm, cracking for another 3 mana, going for the tendrils and just winning the game. So we've seen Andy and his A&T pile now winning the match 2 of the round 2 of the 3rd day event of the Austrian Legacy League. We can now go on up to game 3, up to game 4. Match 3. I'm sorry. And we will see what our 2 players are now playing. So we have now Daniel Pernosch, aka the Flying Delva, now in the chat. Shoutouts to you. He's one of my fellow co-hosts of the In Response, the Legacy podcast. We will meet up tomorrow to record the 9th episode. And if anyone in the chat has any questions, feel free to ask them. We will most likely, or we try to cover them in tomorrow's episode, which will then get released on Friday. Now we have Daniel Pernosch on Alluren. Daniel, do you have a decklist for me? If able, please post it into the chat. And then we have Tobias Jagersberger on TurboDevs. Maybe we have a list from him. I will just look up our website, Austrian-legacy.com. So we have Daniel Pernosch. Okay. Unfortunately, Daniel has his deck list not on the website. Then we have Jagersberger Tobias, and he unfortunately has deck list not available on the website now. So just take another sip and then we can start with match number 3. For anybody interested, these these boards get released later on YouTube. So for whatever reason you are not able to catch the stream live, you are able to rewatch them for 2 weeks on my Twitch channel, or for another lifetime or so on the YouTube channel of the Austrian Legacy League. I will put the link later into the chat now, so for anybody watching the VOD now, you will be able to catch the stream live. You will be able to use the link to catch the stream later. Okay, so we have a pretty bad start on the side of Daniel with a Malian to 5, with Kevin happy Oko in the hand. But if he's able to draw a land, he could be able to do something, but yeah, we will have to see. Dark Depths, Vampire X-Mage isn't just a start you're gonna beat with Alluren. So a pretty quick game 1 now. On to the side of the 2 depths matchup. So we have 20 and 1 game up for Tobias Jägersberger. So we see a little bit of sideboarding now. Okay, we see Surgicals, Silver Libraries, and I haven't seen anything different. Yeah, you do not want the Abrupt Decays. They aren't that great against your opponent. The Urus are not that bad, because at least the Urus gets you above 20 health, which means that you are able to survive for another turn, and then the Oko can handle the Marilage. One thing that Oko are not that great, so you get rid of the Abrupt Decays, and I do not know what the other card was. So yeah, deep in the sideboarding, I think you want the Force of Wills, even though your opponent has a lot of ways to disrupt you early, but you need to answer the Hex Mages, maybe even the Piffing Needles, because you maybe have a Wasteland. But I think Alluren does not run any Wastelands, if I remember correctly. So we will have to see. Another big thing on the side of Alluren is that it's running a few cheap flyers, which are also able to block Marilage in form of Baleful Strix and Icefang Quattles. Icefang Quattles are even able to flash them in, so they can dodge it a little bit. That's definitely something good. So you have a little bit more game, I would say, as Alluren, if you have less ways to fight it. But most of the things that you have against Marilage are still just for a small amount of time that you are hindering them, because yeah, a Baleful Strix just blocks for 1 turn, and then you have to do something, or Icefang Quattle blocks also only for 1 turn, and yes, so you need something that keeps the Marilage in check for a longer time, and that's only Oko because if Uro only hinders Martlage killing you for 1 turn. I think this hand looks a lot better now. Unfortunately, it's not great because you have, 2 Icewind Quattles and a Cavern Happy. But I think you have to keep the hand. You will force a discard spell or something like that, most likely. But maybe you do not, because what cards does your opponent get from you? Most likely the force if they can combo early, or if they are not, they will get the Cavern Harpy. So it's either the Cavern Harpy or the force, and I think that you are able to win the game. You have to rely on the Icy Quartles to draw something good. Now we have our opponent Tobias now on a mulligan to 6, I think. Okay, it puts back 1 card, and I think has the Holy Trinity of Lands in his hand. Yeah. Urborg, Sniffing Needle, Wasteland. Yeah, in this spot you have to fetch, because your opponent would be able to say Pollute the Delta, and now you are Stonewind. But I think everyone does it once, and then you are not making that mistake again. So we have now Daniel on 19 life, and he will pass the turn. And if he gets Thoughtseize or something like that, he will just The question now is if you play in the Icewind Quartal and you have a lot of duplicate pieces. Because you will play the Icewind Quartal next turn, or at least 1 Icewind Quartal at end of turn. And yeah, we have to see how that goes. I think you take the Cavern Harpy, or you take the Force of Will. Yeah, you take the Force. Okay. Now he gets to fetch up another basic, gets to play his Icewind Quartals now. With that, yeah, one thing that's unfortunately happening is that you are in desperate need of finding 1 land and 1 Alluren. At least your card draws are good. The question now is, what are you gonna do now? Do you go for a Brainstorm Tiston? Yeah. Okay. I mean, you even find the Alluren now, so Daniel should be able to win on next turn, because he will be able to draw, I think, 17 new cards, or at least 16 new cards with Cavern Harpy and Icewind Quartals, and with them he should be able to win the game, because Alluren allows him to win the game for next turn. So I think you keep 1 land in hand and Alluren on top of your library, because you do not want to get it Thoughtseized. I think that's the problem you have. You have to keep in mind the Thoughtseize, and you are not allowed to fetch for this turn. Okay, so he puts the Alluren on top. So he put okay. Yeah, put Alluren and Icewind Quartal on top. I kind of disagree, because I think you want the Icewind Quartal in your hand, but yeah, I'm not expert. But one thing that he's still able is Kevin Harpy. Okay. The question now on which card is... Okay, the first one is definitely on Wasteland, I would say. Okay. Okay, that's bad. Even though it's only 1 mana, it's just really, really bad. Because in this spot, the question is now if you even want to fetch, because you know the top of your library. And the top is good. But I think you have to fetch just to slam. I mean, you don't have to fetch because of the Urborg. And we have now 2 forces on the side of Daniel, so he's down to 16. And 17 on the side. And 17 on the side of Tobias. So, yeah. Gets to cast the Alluren. Okay, he wants a fetch. So, I mean, normally Daniel doesn't need any mana now. Because one thing that's huge is that he's able to use the Pollute Delta as a blue source if he wants to. But he is able to use it as a black source whenever he wants. Because it doesn't get affected with... It wouldn't get affected with the choke if it comes again now. Okay. Okay, we got another land now. Draw on the side of Daniel. That's a problem because he... Okay, the goose is loose. The problem is now with the goose, you are only able to get your life total up to 19. And with that, you can stall your opponent for 1 turn. The problem is now that with the Elvish Safekeeper, I think that's how he's called. Yeah. You get rid of those 2 lands. 1 with large, so you get your opponent down to 15. And for this turn, he just sacrifices a land. Okay. Or does sacrificing a land only give him Shroud Time? I do not know completely, but in the spot, the goose will make 1 land drop, so you are able to get hit by Maritlage once. Okay, that means unfortunately that I think in this spot you have to block with the nimble, how's it called, the Gilded Goose. Yeah, I mean, Shardless Agent is... I mean, at least you are able to fetch. So he's going down to 15. In the second one, that means he's at 18. So he's able to spin the wheel with... how's it called? With Shardless Agent once. And then is able to block with Gilded Goose for 1 turn. Okay, another Gilded Goose, which means another token. which means another block for my red large. So we're at 18 and 15, if I saw it correctly. So Daniel is able to generate now 6 life a turn. But it will be interesting. At least Daniel can stall for a little bit. He's able to generate 3 life if it's he's at 21 now. Here's the spot. I think you have to keep the silver library, play the silver library. Because you want to shuffle your deck. The cards in your opponent's hand are not useful. Then you slam the library. You fetch end of turn. You get up to you block with 1 Gilded Goose and then hope to win on next turn with 2 additional cards. That's the thing you have to hope for. There's nothing else you can do in this spot, I think. Because you have to play into your outs. I think that the outs that you have now is having 8 life to spare to draw 3 cards for this turn. Because I don't think that you want to get hit now for a full 20 going down to 1 life. You want your Gilded Goose to die in the spot. You want your Gilded Goose to make 1 food token now. That you have enough mana to draw the cards. If the cards are not that great, you maybe are able to live for another turn. This one will block, will make a token. Sure. So yeah, you are at 21. Yeah. The question is now, what do you do? The question is now, do you pay the 8 life or do you pay the 4 life? Play the Shardless Agent and hope that you spin for a win. Because you want to keep the Assassin's Trophy in your hand, that you do not spin into it. And I think he went down to 30 to even keep the land. Because this land means that he's able to crack 1 more. Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, the worst card you can spin into. That's one thing that was always problematic with Shardless Agent if you are running counter magic, which this is. And I think, yeah, you block with your Gilded Goose for once now. You generate enough food token. You try to win next turn. That's the problem you have. You attack with 1. Tobias is going down to 13. But yeah, this is definitely a close matchup because, as I said, between the games, Daniel is able to generate a lot of blockers. But yeah, the problem is that he isn't finding the win condition now. That's the problem with the choke. Because he had to force the choke, and I think the decision was correct to force the second Pithing Needle. And yeah, and I think he now gets the land that gives him protection from one color, and he will get protection from green, and with that, yeah, he will win the game in this turn. Unfortunately, but yeah, it happens. The only thing that could happen is that I miscalculated the life totals and Daniel is at 15. But 50 doesn't matter because I think it gives him +2/+0 and protection from green for this turn. Yeah. Unfortunately for Daniel, he had a lot of outs, and yeah, he just wasn't getting any of them. Yeah, the problem was that he had to exile the Kevin Harpy, and yeah, with that he lost his ability to cycle through his whole deck. Because with Kevin Harpy and Baleful Strix or Esfequatl, you are able to draw one card for each life you get. And then he shows his opponents the win condition with the Cauldron Familia, which means with Alluren he's able to play the cat. The cat drains his opponent for 1. Then he plays Kevin Harpy. He has to put 1 blue or black creature into his hand. Then he puts the the cat in his hand. Then he pays 1 life to bound his own Kevin Harpy, which is another ability of it. And then you are able to play those for free, and with each cycle your opponent loses 1 life. And with that you win the game. That's one of the mid-range combo decks called Alluren. Now we're gonna go to the last match for today, which is Christian Münster on Bant Food Chain against Dominic Haas on 4-color Loam. Maybe sometimes I can get the list from Dominic. Okay. But I think I have the deck list from Christian somewhere. He should update his list for every tournament. But I think this looks like the last one. He has the Emrakul on the sideboard specifically for me, I think. But I think he's getting this one against control decks or something like that because it's a good win condition. Wales, libraries, the 4th Swords of Plowshare in the sideboard, Surgical Rest in Peace, Force of Vigor, Force of Negation, Emrakul, 2 Defending Silence, 2 Carpets, 1 Back to Basics, 1 Uro, 1 Vocabulist, 3 Recruiter, 3 Noble, 3 Mist Hologriffin, 5 Svenquatl, 1 Hydra Graces to draw a whole library, 1 Eternal Scorch, 2 Oko to ponder, 3 Manipulate Fate, 3 Swords, 4 Forces, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Food Chain, 1 Relic, and the typical Rack mana base with Bant mana base with 1 Caracas, 1 Savannah, 1 Tropical, 1 Tundra, 1 Horizon Canopy. The list from Christian on the left side. So we are now again at 2020 with the live totals and 0-0 in games. Christian starts off with a Ponder, keeps the card, destroy card, pass the turn. Okay. No threat or aggression on the side of Dominic, but for this turn he will definitely play something. So it's going down to 19. Do not know if you can see the numbers clearly on his phone, but I will keep the text editor for now. Fetch up a Trop and maybe we'll develop an Oko. Okay, Baleful Strix good on its own. I mean, the Relic isn't that bad against 4-color Loam, but the one card that's huge is the Manipulate Fate for next turn. So you maybe even get rid of the relic, yeah. So you will cast your Manipulate Fate going down to 19. You will exile, I think, 2 Mist Griffins and 1 Eternal Scourge, because you are able to play the Eternal Scourge for next turn. And with them you are able to play a really good fair game, because you have 4 new cards in effectively your hand, because the Mystical Griffins and the Eternal Scourges are able to be cast from your exile, and Manipulate Fate even draws you 1 card. But unfortunately no Ponder on the side of Christian, and for next turn he even has the Food Chain in hand, so if Dominic isn't hindering him, he should be able to just cast Food Chain, and with the Food Chain cast he will win on the next turn. And yeah, okay, Evian has the Walking Ballista in hand, which means he has a win condition, and with that it looks pretty good on the side of Christian now. The only thing that's could be problematic is that he's missing a green source, but he's getting it. With now I think he just plays the Food Chain, and with the Food Chain in play he's, I mean, we have to keep in mind that Dominic is playing a case. With that he could be able to answer the Food Chain, but for now Christian will just pass the turn and hopes that it sticks around. But I think Dominic has the Brapike in hand, because he's looking really confident now, because he needs to get rid of it, because yeah, Food Chain is just way too scary for him. But yeah, there's an Assassin's Trophy, but this one will get forced down to 15 on the side of Christian. So yeah, Dominic needs the Abrupt Decay now, because Christian has, I think, another Force of Will in his hand. So let's see what Dominic will keep on top, or which card he gets from the library now. On the right side you can see the medal on the neck of Dominic. I think this was the medal because he got 3rd place, I think, for for the last season. This is a regular and good player from our community. Yeah, I think in this spot you just slam all your threats. You just want to hinder your opponent, and yeah, you just play Eternal Scourge going down to 13, yeah, and then play everything, having infinite mana, playing the Walking Ballista, and yeah, just killing your opponent, because your Walking Ballista is infinitely big. I mean, he's getting hit 18 times, but it doesn't matter, because because you do not have anything that can stop the pinging, because you do not have anything that allows you to interact with the stack, even though you can draw one card for each ping on the side of the walking ballista. Okay, make it fair, 20 to 20 with life totals. And one game up on the side of Christian Münster, you get, you put in your Veil of Summer, you get in your Force of Vigor, and I haven't seen the fourth card that he wants to put in. Okay, the Emrakul. Yeah, so you bought in Emrakul, or is it Emrakul? Because I think I've saw Emrakul in the back end of the sideboard. What are the cards you want to get out? Because you need the Force of Wills against the Chalice. Chalice does too much against you. In case you get rid of the okay, that's the third Sylvan library. Okay, makes sense. So he's boarding out Swords to Plowshares. On the side of Dominic, we will maybe see later what he boarded in and what he boarded out. But yeah, on the side of Christian, he gets rid of Swords to Plowshares and boards in Sylvan Library, Force of Vigor, and Veil of Suns. I do not know if I'm completely agreeing on the fact that he boards out every Swords to Plowshare, but I think you need to have at least a few answers against how's it called? The Dark Confidant, because a Bob can run away with a game. So I think you have to keep at least two of those in, just to decrease the power of Loam, I would say. But yeah. As I said previously, I'm not the expert. Most of us are on various different decks, but Christian seems to stick around now for a long time now with Food Chain, and I think he plays it really well. And Dominic is playing 4-color Loam, I think for nearly a year or 1.5 years now. So he's definitely now comfortable with the deck, with most of the decisions with it. He was pretty early on the conversion now on Oko, if I remember correctly. He was starting to put it into his deck pretty simultaneously, or maybe even previously to their own online meta shift with it, because he recognized how good the card is in various matchups, and how absurd the card can generate, how absurd value the card can generate, because it's just a good win condition on its own. Even though 4-color Loam previously was hating pretty much on blue, because it's the only color I think you haven't played in the deck, and nowadays you just play Oko, play Uro, play a fair game, and yeah. Unfortunately, we see now Dominic on a mulligan to 5, but maybe we can see him having some game now against Food Chain. Because one thing that's okay, at least Christian is on a mulligan to 6, so it isn't that hard. But yeah, one thing that's I think you need against such decks is a quick chalice to disrupt the early game. But yeah, we will have to see. I think you do not want the Carcass now on the side of Dominic. Yeah, and he agrees with me. Just playing land go. And I think Christian is also on the stick some good 3-drops and win the game in this way. But he's playing, I think, Manipulate Fate for now. Getting another island. Going down to 19. And with that he should be far ahead now. Because as I previously said, yeah, Manipulate Fate is a 4-for-1 for your opponent, and it's just way too good because you get 3 castable creatures into your exile, and you get to draw a fresh card off the top. So yeah, definitely some really good feature, or some really good card. A double fetch on the side of Dominic, which means he will do something his turn, I think. Do not know what he could do his opponent's turn. That's one thing that's a little bit hard to recognize, is what the players are communicating with each other. If they are skipping an end step, or in which turn we are, which is, I mean, it's easily to see if you see someone drawing a card, but he fetched end of turn, and I think he's just playing an Oko or something like that. Okay, he's playing a knight, which is good too, but I think we just see an Oko on the side of Christian now. Then we will see an Uro next turn, and with that, and he has double force in his hand, which means the next threat on the side of Dominic is likely to get forced, or for next turn he can even cast the Eternal Scourge from the exile. So the spot is just way too good for Christian to now lose the game. I would say one thing that can lose him the game is getting your Oko Abrupticate, which is possible, I would say. Not likely, but definitely possible. Okay, get another Dark Confident. So at least Dominic is just slamming threat after threat after threat. I think you just make a food token now. One thing that Christian can do is playing the Walking Ballista as a 2/2 to then remove the Dark Confident from the game. But I think you are now able to get in 2 land drops, and with that you play the Ballista for 1. And okay, yeah, and that's the problem now. So with this now, the the Oko gets killed. He has an answer for the next Uro. Yeah, and now Dominic is in a little bit of a better spot. He's still, it is still not a 1 game for him, but at least he has an answer. The question is now, what do you do on the side of Christian? Because you have the 1 easy win condition in your hand, which would be Walking Ballista, if you are allowed to get a food chain into the play. Okay. I mean, the one thing that's good for Uro is that with Wasteland you at least get rid of the Caracas Ur shenanigans, which would have been good. So I think in this spot you just Wasteland the Caracas. Okay, you Crimson Zenith for 3, so you get, I would say, another knight, because it's just the biggest threat. or is there a big threat on the side of 4-color Loam? But I think that the big threat in this spot is another Knight of the Reliquary. Yeah. And Dominic agrees with me. So you have another 4-4 on the field now. Okay, another land is good. But the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that the life totals are getting now really, really high. He's allowed to put in a land. Let's see if Dominic is... Okay, Dominic is taking the 6 down to 10. Let's see what... Okay, you have the food chain, you have the cards at exile, so you... I mean, you do not win the game because your opponent is having Abrupt Decay up. But I think you have to go for it now. I mean, you do not go for it, but yeah, you at least can generate some value, I would say. Because you cast the Eternal Scourge now, and with the... Okay. Because I think you cast the Eternal Scourge because then you are able to at least get the Mist Griffin out. Or you now sacrifice the Uro and have 7 mana available and can cast Mist Griffin and Eternal Scourge. Okay. A little bit of discussion going on with our two opponents. But okay. Going down to 8 on the side of Dominic. But I think in this spot you should do something, I would say. Okay, let's cast a library. Okay. So here is really, really interesting. Okay, going down to 29. And taking a hit down to 24. Yeah. Okay, which cards our opponent gets now? Means. Okay. Karakas bouncing the Ur is just fine. The only thing that matters is that he's able to kill the food chain. And because of that, I think you have to commit onto the board that in the last turn. It's just way too good to do something to the board last turn. Because now your opponent has a big board, even though your life total is really, really high. But yeah, let's see what our two players are doing. He gets in. Yeah, I think Icewing Bottle would be a good idea, because with that you can at least soften the clock now. You can kill the big knight, because the one knight is now, I think, a 6/6. And yeah, if you soften the clock, it's getting at least a little bit more easy to stall game long enough to do something. Okay. Okay, still playing something. I mean, one thing that you have to keep in mind, the food chain is most likely to win with to win with some sort of a combo. But for next turn, you just play if you draw a land, you can most likely play Icewind Quartel, your Noble Hierarch, and the Mist Hollow Griffin. And the Mist Hollow Griffin then is a 2-turn clock with the Hierarch. But now with an active Uro on the side of Dominic, it's getting a little bit more difficult for Christian. Yeah, up to 11 life now. Now it's not possible for Christian to do a win with a few threats in the air. Yeah, with life from the Loam, you now get rid of each non-basic on the side of Christian, which negates a lot of his power, I would say. Because a lot of the power from Christian comes from chaining multiple spells for each turn. Yeah, it's definitely something Christian Dominic recognizes, and he puts now the Savannah on the side of Christian. And unfortunately for Christian, there's nothing he can do about it. He's getting now most likely obliterated. Because for next turn he will recast the Uro from the graveyard, most likely. And that one thing that can win. Okay, so he's getting in for 3 down to 24. The one thing that can win Christian the game is just drawing his his one win condition, which means another food chain now. For now, you are not allowed to. I mean, it doesn't make sense to I have to admit, it does not make any sense to replay the Uro. I mean, you get now a few new life, but it isn't something you can advance your game plan on. I mean, for now you even can't how do I say this? It's also a lot less likely to draw the good stuff, because now what are you gonna do? I think you exile now the bad cards, which means the Noble Hierarchs, maybe lands, because the Hierarch doesn't do anything. I mean, the Uro will get bounced next turn with the Caracas. Yeah, the last Mist Hollow Griffin, another dog and a land. And the one thing Christian wants to hit is the second or the third food chain. But yeah, we have to see if he is able to even hit. Because if he can hit a food chain, he will win the game, that's for sure. But yeah. Okay. You now get rid of the civil library, which means a lot less card draw now for Dominic. But he is now able to get in another land into the bin, which will improve his Knight of the Reliquary. He will be able to recast the Ur now. Then his Christian's Ur will get bounced, and then we will see how it goes now. Okay, so he kept the force for the Uro. But I think the one thing that you want to do is to hinder your opponent on winning the. I mean, Ur draws you cards, but the one thing that the Christian needs is him drawing cards so that he can win the game. I mean, him drawing how's it called? Brainstorm is good, but let's see. So we see the Oko. The question is, do we see the second? So we see the second elk on the opposing side, I would say. And we will most likely see another Uro getting cast. Or we see Christian trying to wasteland into a land that will let him cast Uro. Okay, no, we see Uro directly. After 30 life, he is also allowed to draw another card, and he gets another Icewind Quattle. Icewind Quattle is really, really good now in this spot. I think we will see a dredge 3 now for life from the Loam on the side of Dominic. Or I think I would do that. But maybe he needs some new cards off the top, because his 2 cards in his hand are not that great. So yeah. He even drew the Wasteland, which is huge now. And he even gets rid of the Oko. I mean, that's one thing that's the life total is that important now. Fetch Uro activation, we are up to 30 life. I think these are 2 swords to plowshares in the hand of Dominic, because he's playing the promo version. I think you do not want to manipulate fate. I mean, maybe you want it because you can get rid of 2 cards you do not want, 3 cards you do not want into your library. Because in this spot, the only cards you want to draw are, how is it called? Yeah, Foodbin. It's the only card you want to draw. Peter, remember, it's the name of the deck. Yeah. So he gets rid of Fujin and I think another land. What's the white card that he's having in his hand? Is it a sword? No, I think he boarded it out. And if it isn't playing anything this turn, why is he not playing the Mist Hollow Griffins? Because the removal his opponent has are swords to plowshares. With that, it should be clear that locking in elk will gain him life over time. Okay. Yeah. Then we will see Dice Quattle. Yeah. He's able to draw his land. Or his cut. So he will bounce his Uro, and Christian is down to 23. Now we will see a recast of the Uro, I think. Okay, a recast of the Thalia, and then a recast of the Uro. So life totals really do not matter in Legacy right now. Down to 8, up to 19, up to 30. Okay. Okay. So the Thalia was pretty good this turn. So yeah. So we see a jealous on how many? On 1. Okay. I mean, jealous on 1 doesn't matter right now, because the one thing that wins the game for Christian is no Ponder, Preordain or whatever. The one thing that wins the game for Christian is getting rid of Uro or getting to cast a lot of cards. Okay, he now has the whale established, and I think you just go you just cast the Sylvan Library, and with the Sylvan Library you then cast, I think, the Eternal Scourge. Yeah. Now we will have to see what Christian can do the next turn. Okay, he's getting it up to 3, which means he is able to now blow up the food chain. Okay, life totals are still right. Okay, another fetch on the side of Dominic. So with another out for food chain now, it should be hard for Christian to win this game now. So the one thing that plays a little bit into the favor of Christian is that there's the clock ticking down. Okay, so he blocked Thalia down and took another hit from the Elk, and now Dominic is able to recast another Uro. And another failure. Okay. So this will be pretty hard now. I think within recruit you want to draw the land, I think. Because I think the top cards are land, and brainstorm. The brainstorm doesn't matter. Yeah. Because the one what are the things you want to draw now in the spot? And Uro doesn't do anything because your opponent has the Caracas out. So you could cast Recruiter, but for what? The Recruiter are most likely to in the deck to find you the Hydrochrasis or the Walking Ballista to win you the game. So if you play something, it should directly benefit into that regard. Okay, now you have the Mist-Taller Griffin, so you can take at least 3 hits down to 90, down to 1. Okay, now you can't take the last hit because you have to fetch sometimes. So it's because you have to keep in mind that Oko is attacking you. This is up to. Okay, I think I missed something. Okay. So the one thing that you have to find in your deck is most likely something that can get your graveyard exiled. But now with Jealous on 3, it should be hard to win the game. We now have a Meddling Mage on Mist-Taller Griffin, which means the last one is uncastable on the side of Christian. Let's see what the library does show Christian. Okay, land, brainstorm. It's just really bad. You can't even play your Recruiter now. The one thing you can play is 2, 4, 6, 7 is a Walking Ballista X3, which can shoot down at least the failure. Which isn't great, but at least you are able to do something. Okay, the Wasteland gets rid of the next land. At least as long as the Jealous remains on 3, Dominic isn't able to recast his own Ur in the graveyard. But yeah, the spots will be interesting because Christian goes down to 10 now. And yeah, this is the small miss. I mean, I think he has every basic out now. Because he's playing 3, yeah, he's only playing 6 basics. So he's everything out. Yeah. So he plucked the knight now. Okay. Okay. Okay, drew the manipulate fate now. Okay. With that he can get rid of some specific cards. Because he does not need any 1-drops. I think he can get rid of the brainstorm or something like that, yeah. But I think in this spot you do not want to draw that many cards. Because there is a legit reason that you can get decked now. And the thing that you want to do this turn is killing Thalia, killing Meddling Mage. For next turn casting Mistral Griffin, and then you can go winning game. Because the thing that's going for Christian is that Dominic's threat that most of them cost 3 now, and with his own Chalice of the Void, he's blocking with them. And yeah, he puts it up. Okay, he plays the Quartal. I think in this spot you now have to kill the failure and start winning the game. I hope he doesn't deck himself. Because he wants to kill the failure. He wants to kill the Meddling Mage. He wants to deploy his 1 threat. Because he can't cast the Uru. Maybe Dominic will abrupt decay his own Chalice of the Void. This could come up now in this spot. And then deploy a new Chalice of the Void on 3. But I think in this spot, as Christian, you have to just kill the failure, you have to kill the Meddling Mage, you deploy every threat you can, and then you just attack for a few turns. Yeah. Getting rid of his home hand. Just to that he maybe okay, small misplay on the side of Christian. Because the Ur would get countered because Chalice of the Void just only cares about convert mana cost. Yeah, and Andy even said it in the chat, he played Mox for 0, which wouldn't be possible. And the Ur would be as a previously would be countered by the Chalice. On the side of Christian, he should just kill Meddling Mage and Felia and just deploy all his threats and win the game in this spot. Yeah. The next Meddling Mage, you just kill the whole board. That's everything you have to do. Okay. I will correct the life total I have now. Okay, he killed 1 Meddling Mage now. Okay, at least. Okay. 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 I do not know if Christian even has another fetchable land in his library, but I think he has his drop, his tiger, Okay. He casts an Ur now. Okay, getting in for 4 down to 19. Okay, he cast the Ur, let it counted with Chalice of the Void. Okay, that's it. And now we have the time. And yeah. I do not see any spot where he can lose that. I think this is a Chalice of 4, sure. In this spot you... Yeah. Get in for another 4. There is another misplay, I think. I do not know if Christian has 2 cards or 1 card still in his library. But I think you want to kill the board of Dominic and just get in with a few. And there was another misplay on the side of Dominic not paying the feather tax now. But as we previously said, it's pretty late for us now. And yeah. Christian are recognizing how many mana you paid. And even the Chalice of the Void 4 countering your own Felidar retreat. Yeah. Okay. He has enough cards in his library to win the game. Then I think Christian just attacks for another 4. Going down to 11. Powering up. Yeah. Powering up his Walking Ballista and then winning the game. Yeah, but this game was epic. So we have a extra turn win for Christian to winning the last match of the day with 2-1 in an epic Uru mirror, I would say. We can close this one. With an epic Uru mirror. Yeah. I would say that was it for today. Another 3-hour long episode of Austrian Paper Legacy. If anybody wants to know something about me, you can follow me on twitter.com/unicornlord, but the O in the Lord is a 0. I will post a link now in the text chat. Oops. Then you can follow my podcast. It's a podcast from myself and my fellow co-hosts Daniel Flying Delva Pernosh and Philip FinnegMTG Klein. We talk there about Legacy. This is the podcast. You can follow the Austrian Legacy League on the website austrian-legacy.com. For anyone interested. And you even find the Austrian Legacy League on Twitter. And yeah, if anyone is interested, just follow us wherever you can. Give us feedback on our podcast. We are still accepting some questions on the podcast. If you just PM us on Twitter, PM us individually on Twitter if you want to. And yeah, next Monday, 8:30, 2030 CEST, I will stream again the recasting of the Austrian Legacy League Day 4 event. And for now, see you soon. Bye.